Technological progress has changed the world dramatically, but one of the more impactful personal results is the exposure of the individual to the rest of the world. The internet, and social media in particular, has made information about individuals broadly accessible to anyone in the world. We seemingly have a permanent record of all our successes and failures, a few clicks away at all times. While this has affected many people positively, it has also paralyzed many others, making them fearful to try new things or experiment. In some ways, it feels as though we've returned to the claustrophobic days of hunter-gatherers, where privacy was non-existent and a person's entire social group was aware of their every action. The negative reactions have varied. Some people have become conformist to their social group's consensus, while others have isolated themselves and abandoned the potential of these technologies. While information technologies has an enormous potential to expand individuals' capacity to achieve their dreams, the inability to deal with social exposure that comes as a result leads to the squandering of this potential. This isn't acceptable. A person should pursue their dreams to their full capacity, not be paralyzed by fears. This is a problem that should be and can be corrected. Before we can resolve this problem, we have to ask what is the cause of it in the first place. The source of this problem seems to be people's inability to distinguish information from truth. People go through their entire lives getting the vast majority of their information from other people and living their lives accepting that as a truth. This is not to belittle people for not questioning and testing everything they've ever heard. It is simply an overwhelming prospect to validate one's knowledge when one has no standards for doing so. The strategy that the majority of people default to is simply to defer to this consensus of their social group. The result is that social approval becomes the standard of what is correct in your beliefs and values. There is only one standard in which to validate whether something's true or not. This is your own senses. All information you have, true or not, has to be sensed perceptually. There's no other form of information outside of perception. Even false information has to be comprehended perceptually through words. The failure comes from not validating it. The standard of what is true and what is good is the rational validation through perception. This is not to say that you have to first-handedly validate every piece of information. You can delegate this to a large degree. However, you must understand that this is the only way of obtaining truth that exists. Without understanding this, truth becomes ethereal or dictated by the majority of whatever social group you happen to belong to. Just understanding this helps out enormously, but it has to be implemented into your life. A person's emotions will not shift immediately after rationally understanding something. It can take a long time to change. What is important is that whenever there is a conflict between reason and emotion, you need to validate your knowledge and follow through on what you have determined to be true. You'll find yourself returning to this argument and revalidating it over and over whenever you get anxiety from social media. Eventually, you'll be able to develop a second nature, where what you have rationally decided becomes an automatic emotional reaction for you. Criticism or renunciation on social media will no longer invoke anxiety, but be seen neutrally as information to be assessed. This may take a while, in the same way people with irrational phobias require exposure therapy and reconfirmation before they can drop their phobia. When this becomes second nature, you'll be able to reach the full potential of utilizing these technologies. The clarity of mind of being able to utilize the internet and social media specifically without fear of condemnation is a massive benefit to be gained. It enables you to unlock these technologies to their full potential and have a competitive advantage while doing so. Even in the case where you are primarily concerned with being an influencer, you'll be able to take criticism neutrally as feedback, which will allow you to perform better in the future. Understanding that the only way for truth to be confirmed is to validate it by one's own perception is a prerequisite to take full advantage of these opportunities that the world presents to you and should be ingrained in one's psyche. So take heart that if you're fearful of social media, this is something that can be fixed and should be.